Hey, y'all, listen, welcome in the building. Happy Wednesday. It's the 2nd of July. And finally, the day we all been waiting for, the Diddy trial verdict. Listen, was I shocked? I was not shocked because I believe I said it last night that they definitely had a slam dunk on the Mann Act. We could say the Mann Act, but you know what that means, right? They definitely had a slam dunk on that. I didn't know how he was going to go around circles, or they was going to try to go around in circles and not find him guilty of that, right? And listen, Diddy can thank himself, because if it wasn't for the actual tapes, they wouldn't have had any proof of nothing. Everything would have been hearsay. And they could have brought the workers up there, but because they had those actual tapes, you can't deny it. He actually paid people to have relations. But what is interesting to me is that he wasn't charged with actually hiring the workers. He was charged as using Jane Doe and Cassie in the Mann Act. It's just crazy how this whole case was to me. But when I heard the verdict, wasn't shocked, because the other counts, there was definitely reasonable doubt. So there's a few things I kind of want to talk about tonight before we get into the verdict, the bail being denied. I'm not shocked the bail was denied either. And the reason why I'm saying I'm not shocked is because this judge, he likes to play it off like he's being fair, but he has never been fair. He's never been impartial. He has always leaned, in my opinion, at least 90% on the prosecution side. So the prosecution did a piss poor job of defending this case, or trying to present this case. And every chance, to me, the judge got, he tried to help them right a wrong, okay? Because their thing was a whole hot stinking mess. Now, I want to address some other things too. I want to address this in terms of victims in general. And so, you know, a lot of people, this case, I told you, is polarizing, right? Because people have strong feelings on both sides. Some people are 10 toes down that, you know, he's a monster and he needs to go away for life. And they really don't care about what was presented in the case or the charges. They just feel that he's a monster and he needs to be put away for life. And he deserves no bail, no this, no that, whatever, right? And a lot of people are very upset because of the things that happen to these different individuals, Cassie, Jane Doe, so forth and so on. So let me say this, and I'm going to say it in the softest, pinkest way that I can. I really am. So unfortunately, probably, and this is no statistic that I looked up and can say for a fact, but I'm going to say probably 9 out of 10 women, sadly enough, have probably been violated at one point or another in their life. It's very sad. In some type of way. Doesn't mean that it's the degree to which Cassie and Jane Doe endured, but probably 9 out of 10 women, some way, somehow, have been violated, maybe at the hands of a cousin, a boyfriend, a friend, a teacher, an older adult that was supposed to be a family friend. It has happened to more people than not. But the thing that people have to understand is in life, you should always seek therapy for things that have happened to you. Because you know what they also tell you, and I hope you're following along with me. Diva, did you know we just got out of ICU, so tread lightly. Oh, okay. I'm gonna tread lightly. Thank you, Special K. I'm gonna tread lightly. So you know how if you're in a relationship and it was a bad relationship, any therapist will tell you before you go into your next relationship and you carry, hey Nadi, and you carrying that baggage with you from your previous relationship, heal, get help. Or when you get into that next relationship, some of that same stuff that did not heal is going to show up. And I think when we have these Diddy conversations on the streets, a lot of people are connecting to their own trauma that they went through. And they figure, you know what? Maybe I couldn't get the one who did it to me. So Diddy got to pay. Lock him up. Lock him up. But I have told y'all over here from the beginning, this is about the facts for me that was presented in this trial. And you know, I have one of my, shout out to the day ones over here. If you've been rocking with me and hanging with me for a while, shout out to the day ones. And I'm sorry, y'all, let me back up because the title is called Oh My. Shout out to the day ones because I told y'all, and y'all saw one of my subs come up last night and said it if you was here last night. I told y'all from the moment they raided his house that they had nothing. They had nothing. So they took 0, put 20 on 0, and they wanted to convict this man and send this man to jail the rest of his life. So they spent all of our taxpayers' dollars to make this man go on trial for the Mann Act. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel, but it ain't up to me, he should be time served and send the man home. Now, we're going to talk about this bail being denied. What is being said is that as per the law, I'm going to cut it short for y'all. They said, as per the law, that he shouldn't have been, he was supposed to stay in jail and not get bail anyway. So that's why I want to know why this judge played the game and had the defense and the prosecution write a letter and saying why he should stay or why he should go. For what? If the law is that he had to stay in jail based upon the charges until his sentencing, why play these mind games and act like we could present another bail and do all of that only for you to come into court right away? The first thing that came out of the judge's mouth when he sat down is, you're not going home. The judge is playing games. This judge was so unfair and so egregious throughout this whole trial. It's a joke. And now you're making him wait till October to get sentenced. And the judge, while in the courtroom, Callie Nolan, that's what they said. But in the courtroom, he said to Diddy after the sentence, he said, you don't want to go back to that Metropolitan Detention Center. And Diddy did like this. Well, why would you play games with this man if you knew he was going to have to go back? I'm going to bring the people in the building, but the title's called Oh My. So Cassie writes a letter sent through her lawyer talking about she's scared. Another one of the witnesses, I think it's Deontay, wrote a letter too, talking about, don't let the monster out, I'm scared. when it comes to Cassie, Diddy already knew that she the one that turned over all the evidence to the Southern District of New York, and he knew that she was testifying as victim number one. So if he really was going to do something to her, why even let her come to trial and testify? He going to wait till he go through the whole trial, not knowing what the verdict was going to be, not knowing if he will ever see the light of day again, and now he's going to get out while he's waiting for his sentencing. He going to go do something to her. We got to stop the nonsense. And then part of the reason why the judge said too is because Diddy is violent. Before you had my lawyers write a whole letter asking, can I get out? You knew I was violent. So why are we doing this? Because that judge is with the foolery. We got Nancy Grace. She's with the foolery. But Nancy Grace even had to admit that Diddy lawyers did the darn thing when they cross-examined each one of those witnesses, and there was nothing but holes in the story. Ravens fan, you have a question? Go ahead and ask me a question, or you could click on the link. I'm about to bring the people up, and we got some room on the platform. But you can ask me your question. But let me tell y'all this. Somebody need to throw some flowers in the chat for me. Because one thing I did over here this whole time, even though the people was throwing daggers, they was stabbing me, they was cursing me out, they was telling me off, they was doing all kinds of stuff. The link is connected to the top, Raven. They was cursing me out, but I was 10 toes down. Thank you, Ravens fan. I appreciate the flowers. I told y'all they didn't have nothing. I kept it 100. Thanks, Sasuke. Sasuke put the link in there again for you, Ravens fan. They had nothing. They put 20 on 10. And it's crazy that this thing even lasted this long. And you had his family thinking he was about to come home for the day. Yeah, they playing mind games. It's sad. It's sick. It's disgusting. Cassie talking about she's scared. You got $30 million. A husband, you can hire all kinds of security, and you writing a letter to the judge talk about you scared. Whoever got a question for me, ask your question. You know I'm going to answer it. Now listen, people, y'all know what I need in the chat. I need a what? I need a choo-choo. Hold aboard, everybody. It is Wednesday night trending topics, and we got stuff to talk about. The title's called Oh My. We got the Diddy verdict. And bail was denied. Let me go ahead and bring the people on in the building. We ain't see you in a long time. Hey, Don.
My, oh, my.
My, oh, my. Hey, Katrina. Listen, I appreciate the flowers, y'all. Come on now. Give it up. Give it up.
Hey, Diva. Hey, chat. Hey, Hannah.
And I also said last night, too, that I knew the one charge that was definitely going to happen was that prostitution, the Mann Act. That I knew for sure. He wasn't going to get away with that. That was definitely proven. Welcome in the building, y'all. Let me give the first piece of information that I want to connect to this. I'm so sick of that Nancy Grace. I could go somewhere and slap her. She's so ridiculous. I could go somewhere and slap her. Let me see. My computer is acting up. Let's hope that it doesn't that it will be okay here. That okay, everybody got to mute. Everybody got to mute. Okay, here. Okay. So in honey, that Punisher, that one of the escorts, he all up and down these streets, running his mouth, running his mouth, running his mouth, running his mouth, and running his mouth. Okay, so let's see here what we got. So Diddy denied bail after being found guilty of the Mann Act, and he will remain behind bars until sentencing. Now, I don't know why they pushed this sentencing all the way to October, and Diddy did ask the judge, can you please just do it sooner? Let me just pause this. So Sean Diddy Combs was denied bail and will remain in jail until his sentencing. Judge Iran ruled. The hip-hop mogul's eyes opened wide, and his mouth went into a pout as the judge read this decision. Judge Iran said bail is required after someone convicted of P charges, and he focused on the fact that the Bad Boys founder posed as a danger if released. The judge noted the violence Combs unleashed on his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. The judge noted that Combs' own team admitted to DV claims, but said the confession was unnecessary because defendant's violence was starkly depicted in the 2016 video at the Intercontinental Hotel. Well, it is 2025, and we all do stuff. And I would have been saying to the judge, you know, if I was his lawyer, it's okay, that was 2016. It's 2025 now. He has had no problems of beating nobody up or punching the people in the face while he was behind bars. The notorious footage shows Combs kicking and dragging Victoria in a hotel hallway. For present purposes, the defendant is unable to meet his burden, the judge said. The judge said the defense didn't prove there wasn't a lack of danger to any person or the community given the evidence committed at trial. Under these circumstances, it's impossible for the defendant to show he poses no danger to any person, the judge said. I would have said lies. He was in jail. Who did he beat up while he was in jail? For almost a whole year. September will be a year. Combs' defense originally asked for him to be released on a $1 million bond, a mere sliver of his staggering $400 million net worth. He was acquitted of all the charges he faced in the months-long trial, except for the Mann Act counts. Instead of facing the life sentence levied against him, Combs could be behind bars for up to 20 years, but experts told the Post he'll probably only serve a few months. But you got to remember, this sentence is up to the judge. Combs' time in court isn't over just yet, though. He still faces a mountain of civil lawsuits from both men and women alleging anything from SA to impropriety to R. One of the suits filed by Chicago record producer Little Rodney. Well, we know Little Rodney's suit. I ain't going through Little Rodney's suit. Okay, this was the family. This is coming out of court the second time after they found out that, you know, he was not going to get his bail. So that's the first piece of information. I'll do a little round table, and then I'll go through because I have some more. Matter of fact, let me see this. I'll just give a little bit more, and then we'll go around. So Sean Diddy Combs will spend the 4th of July in jail. Judge denies the bail. Diddy's attorney, Mark, and Judge Iran went back and forth after the bail was denied, with Mark arguing Diddy fought back in self-defense during the alleged fight that went down with Jane in June 2024. So that was another thing that came up. You know, they talked about in June 2024, the fight between him and Jane Doe, and they cited that was another reason that after he was already in trouble, he still engaged in DV. Mark tried an emotional appeal to the judge, noting Diddy kids are in the courtroom and his twin daughters have already lost their mother, Kim Porter. However, the judge wasn't swayed. The hearing on expedited sentencing is set for July 8th. So they're saying that the judge said the hearing is going to be in October. They asked for it to be sooner. So now they're going to talk about that on July 8th. Independence Day did not come early for Sean Diddy Combs. He was hoping for a taste of freedom after spending 9 months in a Brooklyn jail, but he was just denied bail and will remain in custody pending sentencing in his criminal case. As you know, a jury found him not guilty of the 3 most serious charges, 2 counts of sex trafficking and 1 of racketeering. They found him guilty on 2 counts of the Mann Act, transportation for, you know, the P word, across state lines. The defense immediately asked the judge to have be released on that $1 million bond while waiting sentencing and appeal. Prosecutors ordered Diddy qualified as a no bail convict because of potential violence and his flight risk. Ultimately, the judge ruled in the prosecutor's favor. The judge said he denied bail because Diddy was not able to show he wasn't a danger to the community. The judge said Diddy's defense conceded during the trial Diddy was a domestic abuser, and he says violence was depicted in the Cassie beating video. You know, it's the same stuff there. We'll go around and then I'll introduce some more stuff. Measure Man, thank you so much for the super chat. Mind you, Cassie had the same challenges. Now she's home sitting with 30 million, writing a letter to the judge. Get out the group chat. I'm trying to tell you, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Dadon, what are your thoughts?
Measure Man went right into what I was thinking. In the corporate world, if your manager tells your supervisor to carry out their duties and they're both immoral, when they go to HR, both of them are fired.
Come on now.
Diddy was the manager. Cassie was the supervisor. She went out and still got dozens of men and women. So she's just walking away scot-free here. I said it from the very beginning, when you first started having panels, that this man was not going to be guilty on all of the counts. He wasn't, because they didn't have enough evidence on him. And people beat me down. They beat you down. I don't come up every week, but I'm in the chat. I'm listening. It's not, you can't take this stuff personal to what happened to you. There's law, and his lawyers, the defense, did exactly what they were hired to do: put holes in the testimonies of the people hitting the stands. We can't stand him. We're afraid of him. But a week later, you're sending him a text message: "I miss you, and I want to do it again." Were you forced to do that?
Come on, talk about it.
Were you forced to send those text messages? "I love you and I miss you and I want to do it again"? No, you weren't. And I looked up that Mann Act, the Transportation for Immoral Acts. He absolutely did that. The evidence came out. He's guilty of that. But everything else that they tried to pile on him, it's like they threw stuff against the wall to see what stuck.
Yeah.
And usually New York has a high percentage of guilty pleas on all counts, but they couldn't get it with this person. So I'm just interested to see how, this sentence would be, whether he get the full 20 years or, a lesser jail time. But I saw an analysis today where they said a first-time victim of the Mann Act sometimes a misdemeanor. And they just pay a fine for it.
They are sentencing guidelines.
So, I was surprised to hear that. And this is technically the first time. So like you said, Diva, this judge has it out for him.
I agree.
Since the jury didn't do what they wanted, in my opinion, or what the judge wanted, to happen, he's going to do it himself.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
That judge, man.
Okay, hold on, everybody. Because we go in order over here just to give everybody their fair chance to talk. So just give me a minute. Yes, the judge had it out for him for sure. And like I said, if you knew you wasn't going to give bail, like, why have me go back there, have my lawyers writing stuff and taking their time, and you're going to tell me no anyway. Timothy Moore, thank you so much for the super chat. I said this from the start, that her husband is behind all of this. Her husband told her to sue him, send that letter in today, and he's in his feelings about her being with Diddy when he was. Oh, and I connect with that, and I concur, and I agree. Listen, the people get emotional, but I said the husband is pimp number 2. So she left one pimp and went to another. Where am I at, Katrina? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I said this, Diva. I said that he's going to be found. I said he's not going to be found guilty on all of them, but I guarantee you they're going to find him guilty on some of them. I already knew this. Because there's no way that they was just going to let him walk up out of there like that anyway. And the thing of it is, maybe the things that they brought in there, like I said, Rico, I would normally see like 50 people or 20 people sitting up being defendants for Rico, not just one. I mean, Young Thug had like how many? 30? So I mean, John Gotti had how many? But it was just one Diddy. So I knew them Rico charges wasn't gonna stick. Now the other stuff, the prostitution and the drug stuff and all that type of stuff, I knew something like that. But that was probably gonna stick. But as we said, and I said from the beginning, And I know domestic violence is a wrong thing or whatsoever, but I said from the beginning, if she would have got that money, I don't think nothing would have been told about it. He waited too late, and she came out with this lawsuit. When she sent him that letter and he didn't respond, it was game on. If he would have responded before,
let me just throw this in there, Katrina. I'll let you finish. The thing is, you got to understand, he responded. Do you remember when they wanted to get her bank account? They wanted Cassie's bank account, and the judge told them no, he declined it. They wanted her bank records. I'm telling y'all, Cassie was getting money all along.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
They've been playing this game all along, and every now and then, in my opinion, when her and her husband ran out of money, they came back to Diddy like a bank account, okay? And so they've been playing this game all along. So what happened was when she sent that letter, it was nothing new to them. It was nothing new to him. But she changed lawyers because at first with the letter, it was just about her writing the book. She got the new lawyer. She got Doug Whitdor, and that's when he trumped everything now. We're going to charge him with R. We're going to say this. We're going to say the trafficking. We're going to say blah, blah, blah. And they filed the lawsuit. They stopped the communication. They filed the lawsuit. And that's why once the lawsuit was filed, he said, oh, shoot, okay. And then he paid her the next day. So it wasn't him sleeping on it and not paying her. She been getting money from the man, and that's why they wanted her bank accounts. But go ahead.
That's the thing. The thing of it is, he what she probably said was, okay. What he probably said, well, you're not doing any more FOs with me. You with a man, so why am I gonna keep giving you money and stuff like that? And maybe that pissed her off, because I see it like this. Yes, I can understand that he was giving them money and stuff like that, but I'm looking at the fact that you're not my artist, you're not my woman, you're not doing the FOs with me no more. You with another man. Let him take care of you. You get what I'm saying? So that probably pissed them off. So now they want to file a lawsuit. But I'm not for sure if that's what's happening. But that's what I'm thinking in my mind. Like they got pissed off because he said no more money. But he's gonna be in there for to what, July or October, whenever his thing comes out. But all I can say is it's over until then, and we'll just go from what happened out when they do that sentencing thing, or if they're gonna let him out or whatsoever. But I know the family feel disappointed that he's not coming back home, that he's not coming home because he thought he was gonna come home today. That was a big slap in the face. I know his emotions went up and down, and maybe like you said, the judge playing with him and all that type of stuff, because this man honestly thought he was finna come out that the other day. Especially when that man somebody, you don't want to go back to the jail, do you? Girl, But we'll see how it goes, Diva. But that's all I got.
Thank you. Ravens fan, welcome in the building. What are your thoughts?
Thank you. Disgust, anger, jealousy from the judge. I just think this judge should be removed. Is there any chance he could be removed and dismissed for a different judge?
I don't know at this point.
That judge going to give him the max. Book it. That judge hates him. I don't understand why.
Well, this is my opinion. First of all, Damian Williams, if I was those 6 female prosecutors, I'll go find him and slap him up a little bit, okay? Because he done left this thing in their lap. But I think the problem is they embarrassed because technically the prosecutors got egg in their face. This was another thing that everybody beat me down over, right? They beat me down over. They was telling me 100% 10 toes down. Diva, you crazy, you stupid. The Southern District of New York, they always win. They got a 99.9. But see, you know why they got that rate? Because a lot of the people that come through that court, they don't even have the proper money or the money to have lawyers to really defend them properly, right? So if Diddy wasn't who he was and he was charged with this, he probably would have got the book on everything. But his lawyers, they poked holes in it and they did their thing. But a lot of people that go through the court system, they don't have lawyers like that. And you got a lot of lawyers that will convince you, well, it's not looking good. You might as well go ahead and take the plea deal. And that goes into their percentage rate. So this judge has been showing just unfavorable things from the door. But you notice everything the defense asked for, it was a no, and then another no. Amy J, your thoughts?
Hey, so I was in class when they first hit it off and he got acquitted for the major crimes. But the more I started hearing about the denied bail, I always had this theory in my head about Cassie, but I just always wanted to deny it because I was like, maybe she's a victim, she's been through a lot. But I feel like some things are very calculated with her, like even being pregnant on the stand, her writing this letter stating that she's in so much fear. And I feel like this is still her playing this game of, I don't know what it is. She does not want this man to have any type of, she wants the pressure on him forever in life. And I can't understand because you got $30 million, you have a family, you're doing well. Y'all have not been in contact since 2018. I'm almost starting to wonder who broke up with who, because she's constantly inserting herself in this man's criminal cases at this point. He was acquitted. He is now probably focusing. I'm sure he's clean from the drugs. He's probably focusing on trying to get out and be a better man for his family. I don't think he can ever outlive what he has done to those who work for him. But I just don't see her in that same light anymore. And I'm wondering if this all was uh, started when he publicly started strolling Carisha down the hall. Because that's when we started hearing about him being this awful monster. And it makes me think of colorism and all these isms and this group of women that were extremely jealous of each other and would do anything to make the other one look bad. So I just hope that the judge doesn't pull another one on us, because from my understanding, they said when it comes to sentencing, there are sentencing levels, and he is at the bottom because he does not have a record, and he can also appeal his charges. And he's really not supposed to be getting away. It says 21 to 27 months at the most, because he is like at the lower end of the Mann Act criminal literature, because it really was meant for people that are transporting little girls and making them do sex and all the rest of that stuff. That's not what's going on. These were adult victims and they were in a relationship with him. So it completely changes the scope of how they should be charging. But listening to the judge today, I'm thinking he's going to try to make them, because they were talking about 57 months. And I thought that was crazy because this is his first offense. And we all seen what happened in that courtroom. And it's a lot of stuff that's just not making sense in the legal sense. So I'm hoping things will work out with him and his family, but he needs to get himself together, because no more crazy gone girl exes, because this girl is going to latch on and continue to like cause havoc in his life.
He needs rehab for many things. But Callie, your thoughts?
Well, I question if whether or not it was already some type of law that would prevent him from getting bail, because these are very high powered attorneys. How would they not know that? That's not tracking to me. I'm not an attorney. I haven't had time to look it up, but I have a feeling that's not true. My thought is the reason why he really was not given bail was because of those letters. And I think that the judge wanted initially to give him bail when he asked him that question, but then those letters came into play. And in my personal opinion, I don't think anyone has threatened Cassie or that stylist. I think it's their own guilt, because they know that they got on that stand and created a false narrative that nearly cost this man his life and everything he owned. And now they're scared because they know what they would do if the situation was reversed. It's their own paranoia. I do not think, because that prosecutor has it out for him, that if they had any shred of proof that he was threatening them, it wouldn't have been brought up. Also, to try to say that he's violent, he wasn't convicted of a violent crime. He is now convicted of 2 counts of the Mann Act, which is a Jim Crow law from 1910 that was essentially made for Black men who are dating interracially. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's just to sum it up. Our current, head of, I guess, the country actually pardoned the person that this law was created for, Jack Johnson. Of course, he has since passed. This was in 1910, but he did pardon him. So, to be honest, I, as a Black American person, am really disturbed by the fact that we now have a man who is being held without bail under a 1910 Jim Crow law for a non-violent crime because they're claiming that he's violent, but he was not convicted of a violent crime. To me, any reference to that video should be stricken from the court from this point on, because he was acquitted of any charge that was related to that video, and any other charge is past the statute of limitation in all 50 states. That video should never be able to be referenced again. So I think that this is a loophole in the legal system, because, again, to say that he's violent, he is not in there for a violent crime. He's just not. He's in there for 2 counts of the Mann Act with no criminal record. Also, this whole thing, I understand we saw that tape, but we also have to look at the history. There are no DV calls. There are no 911 calls. There are no restraining orders. No, nothing. There's actually no legal history of him committing DV with Cassie or any other relationship. Now, to be honest with you, I came into this biased, but I thought that this thing that happened with Cassie would lead to an investigation where they would find a RICO organization with payola or something like that, stealing from artists, some illegal thing that he was doing with the business. By the second week of testimony, I realized this case is about those FOs. I, being a person who actually read Cassie's lawsuit, it kind of sounded like to me that she started the FOs, but I wasn't sure if maybe she just got duped a little bit. Maybe he told her, I never did this before, I have a fantasy, and she fell for it. But then when this case happened and they had no previous victim before Cassie, I'm like, okay, well, she started this. She is the one who went out and got the escort and started this whole thing. And also, if anyone's a pimp in this situation, it's Janet, aka Cassie. She is the one who convinced these men who thought they were going to go dance at a party into selling themselves. And she walked away with $30 million. I couldn't write this. If someone paid me, if Tyler Perry was like, look, I'm gonna give you 20 million right now if you just come up with a script with this concept, I could not write this. This is insane.
It is.
And I really think that as Black Americans, we should be very concerned, because I think what's happening with this judge, and this is something that I face in the workplace because I work in tech and I work with a lot of people that are immigrants or first generation. It's not that they're racist. They don't understand the history of this country. Yes, they may have read books and they might have degrees, but it's kind of like almost a TV show to them. It's not real to them.
Yeah.
So I think that that's what's happening with this judge. Like, he's not connecting Mann Act. This is a wealthy Black man, just like the man that the Mann Act was created for. And I also think that even with a lot of Black people, the image of this Black man attacking a woman who doesn't look like him is invoking a lot of racism. And you know what I mean? At the end of the day, she didn't call the police. It's past the statute limitation. This was not a DV case. The DV was relevant to the trafficking, which he was acquitted on. So all of this stuff, like he needs to go down, all of that, it's over. He was acquitted. There's nothing else to do with that video. This happened nearly 10 years ago. And what's now happening is that we have them coming back nearly a decade later and essentially taking anecdotal evidence and a bunch of false testimonies and trying to frame him for a completely different crime.
And creating books as well.
Now, if the Mann Act is a if Cassie and Jane are to be the victims, they were never commercial ex workers, ever. He never got paid for what they were doing, which is what was determined with the mock jury before the trial even started. TMZ actually did a mock jury. They had the same exact result. They could not find him guilty of trafficking or having a criminal enterprise because there was no profit or attempt at profit. There was no business. He wasn't selling people. This was never a business. So I think that
Callie,
they went into this case knowing this would be the outcome, hoping that they could do something tricky with this Mann Act. And Cassie writing that letter opened the door for that. But at the end of the day, he's in there for a nonviolent crime at this point.
Yeah, and thank you so much. You brought up a lot of really good points. Another thing I would like to say is that they looked into his taxes. They really thought that they was going to find a black man that wasn't paying his bills, wasn't paying his taxes. And granted, if he didn't pay his taxes, they would have really slammed him up against the wall. And they looked into all of those businesses because they wanted to see if they can find anything egregious to connect, right? You know, they didn't find it because if they did, they would have let us know in the court. So you're saying this man is running a criminal enterprise. And like the people said, they did this RICO because if he would have found guilty, they could have seized everything. They really wanted to slam him against the wall. And when they combed through his businesses and all his taxes and his bank accounts, and the best they came up with is American Express bill that was $1 million in 1 month, they got to miss me with the nonsense.
Diva, I wanted to ask.
1 second, please. If you show me with the Amex, whatever, if you show me 10 years, 20 years in a row, because they took this thing back to 2004. And from 2004 to 2024, the best y'all got is baby oil, Astaglide, $1 million Amex bill, some hotel pictures, some lingerie and high heels, and you don't want him out in the streets. So in the silliness to me of the letters from the Jane Doe and Deontay, at some point, because he didn't get convicted for life, at some point he's going to get out of jail. So this is stupid. So you think he's going to sit in jail for 5 years or 6 years, whatever day he gets, and you think then when he comes out, if he really is out to get you, he won't get you then? What will you do then? Are you about to move to another country? Every way you turn, they find a way to stick it to him. And the judge is in on it. Nadia, your thoughts?
I wanted to say something, Diva.
Go ahead, and then I'll let Nadia speak. Go ahead.
Okay, so I was watching Stephen A. Smith, and it was 2 legal analysts that was there, and one of the legal analysts actually worked for the Southern District of New York as a prosecutor. He said that he was a part of the group that tried John Gotti and failed 4 times, right? But he said for the beginning of this trial, it was always an overreach. He said in all of the cases, and they had very serious RICO cases, they've only had 3 co-counsels. He said they beefed up the co-counsels to 6 women. He said it was an overreach, and then on top of that, they just didn't have the juice. They knew that from the beginning. It was a major overreach with the RICO, a major overreach with the trafficking, but they were hoping the news coverage and how much bad press they put on Diddy that they can just get any daggone jury in there and just get what they wanted. But it slowly started unraveling when when the text came out and all the rest of that stuff. And then it's like we have to still pay attention to the law in this matter. And they were saying they thought they didn't see the judge actions about denying bail, But they were saying the judge should be very mad because they wasted New York's money and time, and he
Well,
should
no,
have released him immediately.
that he's trying to help them correct it so it won't appear to the people that the time and money was wasted. And the reason why they beat it up to 6 of them is because those 6 did not bring this case. Damian Williams did, but they knew when Damian left, they had no choice but to move forward. So they figured, let me help these ladies out, because after Damian left, the whole crew left too. There was no one left that was with Damian that stayed behind. So they had to beat this up, and they tried to pull in heavy hitters, so they gave them 6 of them. And they spent $500 million of the taxpayers' dollars on this nonsense. They had the jury consultant stay the whole time, and that is unprecedented. And that jury consultant is the one that told them juror number 5 got to go. But it backfired on them, because when juror number 5 left and they ushered in 25, well, those other jurors was back there and they was deliberating. They told the judge on 25. And then not only that, that judge let juror number 7 stay, and juror number 7 was talking about the case, because when juror number 6 or 5 or whatever that one had to go, somebody texted them and said, are you juror number 5? So he want to talk about people breaking the rules and breaking the laws. The jury broke it. Bonner lied on the stand. Cassie twisted up her words. Jane Doe was lying. Everybody was full of lies. Nadi, what's your thoughts?
Hi, everybody. Thumbs up this video. Oh, a lot of strong opinions, a lot of great point of views, but I think everybody is missing, and this is one of the things the judge pointed out during the Bell hearing. Diddy's defense helped seal the deal on the violence. He said over and over again in his closing argument, we own the violence. We own it. But that's not what he's being charged with. We'll plead guilty to that right away. He's violent. He said it over and over again. And that's what stuck in the judge's mind. And that's what, and outside of the law being mandatory that he be held with no bail after conviction on the Mann Act, and I get all the background about it, but that's just the law. I mean, Diddy admitted to that he's a violent person. So whether he's posing an immediate threat, he's looking at how the closing arguments went, all the evidence that came out in the trial, and also his behavior before the trial, him intimidating witnesses and trying to coerce witnesses and persuade them to testify for him. All those behaviors played in the factor, and that's why he is denied bail. Now, do I feel like he's going to get a bunch of time? No. I mean, maximum he'll probably do 5 years and maybe do 1 more year and get out on good behavior. The facts is he was found guilty on 2 of these felonies. His reputation is now ruined. He will not be able to get these big old brand deals. At the end of the day, I feel like the jury went 50-50, gave some to the defense and some to the prosecution. They didn't see enough evidence to put that man away from life, but I feel like Diddy has gotten away with so much through the years. He's stolen so many people's careers. He's misused and abused a lot of people, and it's time to pay the piper. Now, will he learn his lesson and humble himself at this point and understand that he is not above the law? He could be on the other side of that table at any point in time. That remains to be told at the end of the day. But he did a lot to put himself in this position as well. When it came to his behavior, when all this started going down, the way he was, meeting with people in prison, trying to pay them off, and things like, I'm not ignoring all of that. To me, he was not moving like an innocent man at all. That's just my thoughts.
He was not charged with witness tampering. He was not charged nor convicted of witness tampering.
He was denied bail because of it. I didn't say he was
charged.
But
he's not been convicted of that. See, this is the point I was trying to make. They're taking these things that either A, there wasn't enough evidence to charge him, or B, he was acquitted on, and now saying that we won't give you bail on a totally separate thing. So I don't know if it does work like that.
Nadi, let me say this. Of course they owned the DV because the prosecution played that video from the 2016 hotel beating about 900 times. They would have been foolish not to own up to it. So because listen, and I'll let you speak again, but give me a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So the prosecution, they're the ones that have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. So
Absolutely.
the defense out the gate said, listen, they're going to show you this, and we ain't going to deny it. We're not going to deny it. This man had a problem with his hands. He had a problem with DB. But that is not racketeering. That is not the RICO. And so you're saying that there's a lot of people out there that are violent, they putting their hands on people.
Mm-hmm.
But because you are doing that, does that mean you're guilty of all of this? There's a lot of stuff out there that is street legends. Bonner and Cassie and Jane Doe, they all were talking before this case. Not only that, if you know, the prosecution had to sit with some of these witnesses 23 times. 23 times. Let me tell you this. You only got to sit with me one time when I'm telling the truth.
Right.
They sat with some of them 23 times. I forgot the other one. They had it kept going out smoking, coming back. So they could get their story straight. This man traumatized you. He trafficked you. He argued you and all of that. And when you sit down to go tell your story, you need somebody to coach you 20-something times. You got to make it make sense to me. So yes, he admitted to the DV, and how could he lie? We saw it on the tape. The tape that they showed about 90,000 times. If you got real evidence that this man has been committing so many bad crimes, show it to us. Stop showing us the 2016 Intercontinental Hotel tape, and you're doing that. Why? Because you want what the streets are saying. You want everybody to say, he's a monster. Oh my God, he needs to get locked up. No, we got to follow the law here. Because listen, if somebody arrests me and said I robbed the bank, okay, I robbed the bank. That's what you're charging me with. But then you want to come in here and say, well, Diva's a monster because not only did she rob the bank, she beat this one, she beat that one, she was having sex like this, that, and the other. No, let's stick to the fact. Did I rob the bank? When you want to charge somebody with RICO, let me ask you this. Why didn't they raid Bad Boy Entertainment? Why didn't they raid Revolt TV? They said he was running a criminal enterprise and using his businesses to run this criminal enterprise. But yet they arrest him. They raided both of his homes. They never raided not one of his businesses. Why? Because when they looked into all of it, you better believe they looked into all of it. When they looked into all of it, they couldn't find no proof that the freak-offs were connected to the businesses on a high level like that. When we think about this, we got to put our emotion to the side and think about all the things that they brought into this. The prosecution had their chance. Bring the facts in the building. But instead, they wanted to tell us salacious freak off after freak off after freak off. And if you go back to my original video, when they raided the homes, I told y'all they didn't have jack. Because if they saw one video where somebody was getting drugs forced down their throats, or they would see somebody who looked comatose and a man was on top of them, they would have set our TVs on fire with that evidence. But Mark told us, he said, all you're going to see in the videos is people having sex and looking like they had a good time. And we want to sit here and say that this man should do another day in jail because of some freak-offs. I need more.
I just really feel like they convict him on the charges properly. I think he should have been charged with the prostitution. I think it was clear evidence of that. I think the jury did the right thing, in my opinion, right? And I'm not shooting down what anybody else has said, but like, we know this man. I know for a fact Diddy is violent. It is other evidence outside of this case where he is very violent. And I just really feel like this is the humble pie he needs to take. I really feel like it's time for him to pay the piper at this point. And that's just my opinion. I know you all can disagree.
Oh, no, listen, Nadi, I love you, and I'm okay with your opinion. But see, you feel like many other people feel too, right? But if somebody's got to pay the piper, especially when it comes to the court of law, you got to make me pay the piper for the right crime. You got to charge me what you have evidence for. And that's where they messed up. This man is not on trial for DB. Does he have it? Yeah, because we know for a fact that he went down to UCLA where Justin Combs was going to school, and he approached the coach and something went down. So I'm not, just like his own defense team said, the man got a problem with DV. But that's not what he's on trial for. But that's not what he's
But I really feel like he was properly, like they charged him with the proper crimes. Do I feel like the prosecutor overreached with the RICO and everything? Absolutely. And that's why I feel like the jury was fair in charging him with the Constitution. That's where the major proof was.
It was Nadi. For some reason, Nadi, you're sounding muffled and going in and out. Is it just me that's hearing her sound like that?
I think that, yeah, I heard it.
No, it's her. Yeah.
Okay, so Nadi, go out and come back in. Sebastian, I'm coming to you.
Well, how is everyone today? Diva, this is very hard for me to say this. You were right. I give you your flowers.
Oh, thank you.
I give you your flowers. I give you your flowers. I will give them to you. I'm not ashamed. But I hope everyone in the comments will be calling you out of everything. But a child of God, give you your flowers too. But this is somewhat of a lot of crazy consequences will come out of this. This is insane what happened. We saw, as you said, a rushed case. Damien, as soon after the election, Damien announced he's resigning. And then 50-something attorneys, I think, resigned too. This was a mess. For me, it smells like corruption. This will taint the Southern District of New York for what they did here. Because the Southern District, we all know the Southern District is supposed to be the court of the land, basically, because they have a 98% conviction rate, 2% just mistrial. So therefore, people do get something in there. And Diddy's not getting the charges that they wanted him to necessarily get to be in jail for a long time. He's not going to get them. And someone mentioned about, I think it was Nadi. She said that she thinks he can get 5 to 6 years and get out on good behavior. Well, actually, there's an article right now where some attorneys and stuff have published what could Diddy get and what the prosecutors are asking for and what the defense are asking for. Diddy could get from 20-something months up to 63 months. The defense is asking for 20-something months, and the prosecution is asking from 52 to 63 months. So Diddy will be out, guys. One day we'll be seeing Diddy again. Do I think his reputation is gone completely? No, I don't think it's completely gone. I do think he has more power than Chris Brown. He somehow can make himself appear in society again. So, you're right, Diva.
Thank you. You know what? Let me say this. The best kept secret out there in Hollywood is that these parties go on all the time. Not necessarily to the level of Diddy. You like I said before, you always have a friend that just does the most. Like they take something to the 10th power, right? Diddy just took these parties to the 10th power. But as I said before, right now, right in our face, okay, Kanye West parades his wife around. Jane Doe said she went to a S party of Kanye West. And they always standing around watching people do what they do, okay, with no clothes on. So these parties are not unusual. They're the norm in Hollywood. But they want to act like, oh my God, Diddy. That's why all of his friends went radio silence, because they was all just hoping that their name was not going to be mentioned.
Agreed.
If you know anybody that goes to swinger parties, it is their secret. If you see me out in the street, you don't know me. We don't talk about that we was at this party last night and all sleeping together. They have their own secret little society. These people out in Hollywood, they're doing it. Do you remember at one point, Kanye West announced that he was going to open a porn company?
Yes.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, I do.
This is what they do. That's why many people was like giving people the side eye, like, you know, that's your boy. You know, you was partying with him. You know, you was hanging with him. And now he's being hung out to dry, and none of y'all stepping up and even trying to come see about him. So this is not a secret in their world. He just did the most and he got busted. Okay. Yes, Diva.
What got out of control?
And now let me just add something else here, because I'm sick of this one exotic dancer keep running his mouth. Exotic male dancer, the Punisher, Derry Jury is 100% correct in the verdict. He need to go sit down somewhere too, because what I don't understand is how Cassie, like how Diddy is being charged with Cassie and them, and these escorts, like they're selling themselves. Like this is the see prosecution. To me, if they would have just not just been focusing 100% on Diddy, and they got bold and was ready to charge other people, they could have got a slam dunk on this thing. But they wanted to cover who they wanted to cover, and they just wanted Diddy to go down, and that's why they got an F.
I think the verdict is actually the right one, in my opinion. I always saw it as more of a domestic violence scenario. And, you know, me even taking myself out of the situation and just trying to look at it from an individual, like a juror would, when you see this long-term loving relationship with this is his girlfriend, right? And then also multiple scenarios where the sexual lifestyle was consented, you know, it was just hard for me to shift from this is just a domestic violence different type of relationship to a criminal sex trafficking scenario.
Do you think like you testifying, you know, possibly helped Diddy's case?
I do. Like, if I feel like if the deciding factor of this scenario of the sex trafficking charges was going to be based on consent or lack thereof, I definitely feel like my testimony could have possibly influenced the way it was viewed by our jurors, because the coercion part of it is obviously the main factor if you're going to prove that, right? So, you know, in regards to her testimony, in regards to her situation directly, with me being one of the two guys that they brought up to corroborate, obviously my experience would not lead you to believe somebody was sex trafficked. I think there's a fine line between, because the domestic violence, right? The domestic violence is undeniable, you know? And I think if anything, I think they made a mistake. I think they underestimated the actual loving relationship that persisted, right? Because in the closing arguments, it's clear, right? The stories that were being told, one, he's this kingpin that doesn't get no, and it's just, this is how I do. And the defense told a story of this is a complicated love story relationship. And when you see the expressions in the text messages outside of the sex of love and care or whatever, it's going to be hard for anyone, including and anybody really seeing in totality, to not just see this as a relationship. Dysfunctional, but a relationship.
Do you at all feel, you know, bad for someone like Cassie or Jane, the other woman who testified that was dating Diddy?
Oh, I feel terrible for both of them, and not even necessarily associated with the charges, right? You know, women in general deal with a lot of shame associated with their sexuality, right? So to have two women have to pretty much broadcast their sex lives to the world and be under the scrutiny of that type of perception and judgment. And it's look, I'm a guy, and some of the comments that I get, I'm a guy that's been a male stripper for 30 years, and I look at some of the comments that I get in my DM just from nasty people, man. And it's like, whoa. So I feel like as women who did this in the partnered relationship, that this is supposed to be private, and to have this publicly out to the world in this way is rough, man. I feel for both women to have to go up and share those experiences.
Oh, Katrina, your thoughts? That was the Punisher, one of the S workers that spoke during the Diddy trial. Any thoughts? All right, I don't know, Katrina, if you can hear me. Callie, can you hear me? Any thoughts?
I think that he sucks and he really wants to promote this book. And I am tired of this big mouth escort. When you pay for an escort, don't you pay for discretion? Now, granted, he's going to continue to argue that he was just a dancer and Janet talked him into this lifestyle where he ended up going down this rabbit hole of taking all of this ED pills and all of this nonsense and craziness that he got into because he was led into this lifestyle of selling himself. Look, I don't know. I just know that him, and then there's another one that's been blabbing all over the place.
Yep.
They got to realize this is not a good look. However, I think what they're concerned about is people thinking that they are worded somebody. Because there is a bit of it, there's an implication of that. If you were being forced and I was the one that was actually interacting with you, that means I'm the one that forced you. So I feel like these men have other, whether if it's OnlyFans or dancing or other things that they do, and they don't want to be labeled as that because they won't be able to make a living. They might not be thrown in jail, but it definitely could affect them getting booked or getting tips or subscriptions if people think that they're an R-worder. So I just really feel that a lot of people are not thinking this whole case through. And everybody that's stuck on this video, they're not really stuck on what was going on with these men. So I'm torn. In a way, I'm kind of glad they did speak out, but in a way, I'm kind of like, really,
It's messy. Amy J, your thoughts?
I, from the beginning, like a lot of people, was trying to, I think I wanted to know, after watching the Cassie video, I just was very deeply invested in, is this man a monster and how deep does this go? But videos like The Punisher, and then there's another one out talking, and then I heard all these stories of drug use and all these stories of failed careers and disgruntled employees. I just feel like, how did this wind up in a federal court system? Because I was listening to TMZ and Harvey Litterman, I don't know his name, said something very, very clear about RICO. It's organized crime. And he said, from what I saw of this group, it was disjointed and unorganized and completely out of, like, it was just out of whack. It didn't make it didn't pass it didn't pass the litmus test of being an organized group. These people were acting on their own fruition. People were doing certain things. They were cleaning up mess. And organized crime just runs like a really oiled machine. And when I hear these cases, I think that's when it finally clicked in my head. That's why this whole case sound crazy, because I've never heard so much craziness in one place, other than when you listen to people talk to you about toxic relationships. So I'm kind of like ready for these people to go back into hiding, but I don't think that's going to happen. I do think a book is going to come out with Cassie. I do think that more people are going to express their disgruntled beliefs about all the people who are involved. I'm just hoping that like won't last long as I think it is. I don't think he should be in jail. I'm hoping he'd be home by like August.
He's gonna have to do some time, but some more time other than the time that
Do
you
you
know.
think it's fair though for him to do that, Diva, after all that happened?
Well, I don't think anything that has been done to him since the charges is fair. Now, I will say this to you, because it's not that easy to come off of substances, and he has multiple layers of addictions, right? So, although I really don't think it's fair what is happening to him, I think sometimes you got to look at things as happening for you and not to you. I think if he would have got let out and he would have had to come back in October for the sentencing, I'm not 100% sure he would have came to that courthouse and not been tested positive for some type of substance.
Yeah.
So in a way, it probably, even though it was unfair because the way the judge had presented it to him as if he was going to get out, I think in a way it's probably to his benefit that he stays behind bars until his sentencing, because he needs rehab on just the highest level ever. He needs the rehab from the substances. He needs rehab for just the DV. He needs rehab from the sex addiction. Or all of it is a lot. And if they said, because all the evidence kind of showed that he came to New York, he knew he had to turn himself in, and there was evidence as if he was going to have a freak off in New York.
That part.
That's bad. That's bad.
Mhm.
When you know you about to turn yourself in, and you still had the substances in your hotel room, and you had evidence in the room as if you was planning a freak off, that is bad. You got it
Couldn't
bad.
help himself. He just was losing it.
He was
Just one
losing.
last pick off.
Yeah, so probably the fact that he didn't get bail initially, it probably saved him. Because I'm also not confident that if he was out on bail, and it was time for his trial, I'm not even confident he would have came to the court every day clean.
That part.
I'm not.
Yeah.
So although I think legally it's just egregious, I think that indirectly this has helped him, and is continuing to help him, because if he goes back to his same stomping ground, which is his own homes, it's a familiar ground. And one thing rehab tells addicts, you can't go back to what you used to do and who you used to hang with and the things you used to be around. He has a lot of enablers. He has lost a lot of them, but I'm sure he would get more easily. So he needs to be in a rehab, and I think he needs extensive rehab, and a one that is a real rehab and is not going to just cater to him because he's a celebrity. I don't know how good the Betty Ford clinics are still now and if they exist, but he needs a real rehab. He really does.
He doesn't need it. Karen, what's it called? From how Thomas Housewives. He doesn't need that kind.
Right, he doesn't need that time. Yeah, he needs real rehab.
Yeah, because I don't know if you guys caught it, but he actually has been to rehab, and he actually had a therapist that he was on the phone with.
Oh my
right
God,
after
yes.
that hotel incident happened.
I heard that's a therapist.
So,
wait, hold on, Kathy. Say that again. He was on the phone with a therapist when?
Yeah, there was a text saying, "I'm talking to my therapist." When they were,
oh my God,
they continued to fight after what we saw, but it just wasn't physical because she had left the building. They continued to text each other going backwards and forward. And within those texts, there was a comment of, "Oh, I'm talking to my therapist now."
I chuckled when I read that. I was like, therapist.
There are also texts of when she was cheating on her now husband with Diddy. That went on a little bit longer than what I thought. And I'm starting to think with Amy J is suspecting that he is the one that broke up with her, not the other way around. It could have been because she got pregnant. It could have been because he was just over it, because he said there's always another man with you. He literally said that to her. So I don't know, but I'm starting to suspect, because you got to remember, we're getting these texts from Cassie's devices, who knows what she may have deleted, that maybe he is the one that ended the relationship.
Yeah, and then next one he shows up, pops up. She wasn't upset, but she was jealous of Gina. But I think it's more jealousy when you see a new artist like Young
Yes.
Miami, a Black
Young Miami
American
was the new
girl.
her. She was younger,
Yeah,
and her career was hotter.
yeah, and she's
Because
doing.
Cassie,
And the things I've heard, I'm not trying to blame Cassie, but they all shared the same racial makeup. They were Black and Asian, right? Gina, Daphne, and Cassie. And one of the comments
I
they all
don't know
said
if they're
about
Black at all, to be
and I'm saying
honest
they
with
were
you.
mixed, but they had some Black
Yeah,
racial.
they're a
Yeah,
yeah.
but let me just get to my point. I feel like all of them have said about Young Miami that she was ghetto and Black. And I just feel like that is their real gripe. I've been fighting for your attention. It's not that he brought her a Chanel bag. He brought that black ish a Chanel bag. He's putting her in videos. Because after he got with Young Miami, the lawsuit came a year later.
Well, you
Mind
have
you,
to
he
think
was cheating on her with Gina and Daphne the whole time.
But Amy, you have to think about this. There has to be a feeling of we're from different cultures, we're from different backgrounds. You seem to be having more of a connection, more of a relationship with someone from your own culture. So was
Yeah.
I just here as a fetish, or because I was the only one willing to do this? That had to have
Yeah.
occurred to them. I
Yeah.
don't
And then the other
care
Black,
what kind of grooming, whatever. There is
yeah.
no way you're going to convince me that these women never had a moment when they were propositioned to do this of, this is all this man wants me for. Because
Yeah, and then you
again,
also think
Kim was
about,
there the whole time until she passed away.
yeah, but that's what I
Then
said, but even you got to think
Young
about
Miami
Kim
was there the
too.
whole time with Jane.
Yeah. But I'm thinking about Kim too. He put Kim on a pedestal and she was clearly a Black American woman. And even though, listen, he's had a lot of women, I still think that they do not like the idea of him promoting and pedestaling these type of women when they are sharing him too.
No,
That's
well,
what I got
I
from it.
think it makes
I
them
hear
feel
you, but
used.
let me say this. I
You
think
know,
I think that they all just wanted to be the number one girl, and they
Yeah.
all said that in the stand too. They all were
Yeah.
fighting to be number one in Diddy's world. And and when they found out they wasn't, and because Cassie, I think Jane Doe complained, I couldn't be around the kids, I couldn't go to Cassie, this one, I didn't get to go to Thanksgiving, I didn't get to go to,
Yeah.
they all were fighting to be number one, and it cost them. And it cost them. Listen, Capricorn Clark said herself, Cassie was chasing the dollar. She didn't say it that way, but when she asked Cassie, why don't you leave Diddy? She said, because Jay-Z is already taken. You chasing the dollar. And the dollar costs you your integrity and everything else. And you want us to give it back to you by putting this man in jail for what? For what?
I just based off her metrics, he should be burnt on a stick because the way she's moving, she's not satisfied with him. Not 30 million, not him being in jail for a year,
It's not
not
just her,
him
though.
being
She's still being pushed. She's still being pushed. She left one pimp to go
I
to
was just
another.
gonna say,
Still being pushed.
I believe her husband told her to do that.
Yeah,
So
she's still being pushed.
Cassie won't have no association with Diddy when he get out. Because I really don't believe none of these
Mm,
people. I know the prosecution brought these people in. I don't think none of these people wanted to testify. Because if you
Bingo.
listen to their stories, they say something bad about Diddy, but then they come back and say something good about Diddy.
Yep.
I don't think none of them wanted to testify, but they both said, "Look, either you testify or you gonna be sitting where Diddy sitting at." So
That
they came in and did their A game. And what the thing was, like I said, with that Jane Doe, I still think that was a conflict of interest. How you gonna put this woman
mhm.
on the stand
And
when
live
he's
in his
paying her
house.
rent and paying her legal fees? Like who finna get
Mm,
up here and tell the whole truth? I'm gonna give you a little something, but I'm not gonna give you everything. Ain't none of
mm,
them got up there and gave them everything. All of them gave them bits
not a
and
one.
pieces. Gave them bits and pieces, and
mhm.
none of them came out with the truth because none of them wanted to be there. And if all of them gave, even though they got immunity, they don't know if these people gonna circle back around and say, "Well, oop, I didn't know I gave you immunity for this, so let me bring you back in." Because all of them guilty. If you ask me, the Punisher, I'll have to be drunk and high too if I had to sleep with him. No, anyway, the
You crazy. Listen,
You
but you
couldn't see with the Punisher. What about the other guy? No, Mon's channel.
Either one of them. But bingo. They all came up there. You listened and read that testimony. They all came up there. They gave enough so that the prosecution could get off their back, but they all weaved and tweed in between it how they still love Diddy. Okay? Still love him. And and for you to be coming back to this man who you claim argue. Now, let me tell you what Mark said, and I believe every word he said when he said this. Cassie said that Diddy argued her because her husband, who was the boyfriend at the time, had no idea that she was sleeping still with the both of them. Because how did you allow?
They revealed the text messages.
Somebody argue, but yet a week later you voluntarily sleep with them. And people are saying they want this man to serve more time in jail for what? For what? When all of them got up there and they was lying on that stand. Cassie even claimed at first that she saw Bonner being held over a balcony, and then later on it came out that she didn't see it. She wasn't there.
You guys should really read her account of this story. This is, again, I read her lawsuit, so I already knew she was never trafficked or forced to be there. This is the thing. This is people coming up with that conclusion. The only thing that Cassie said is that he threatened to release recordings, which I don't believe after this trial, because she did leave, nothing was released, and we found out all the recordings were on her computer. And nobody else ever heard this conversation happen. So I'm thinking that this is some excuse she came up with for why she was there. I don't think he ever, because he would look stupid. We all thought she was his girlfriend. He releases those recordings. He looks like a fool. So I don't think that ever happened. I don't believe she was ever forced to be there, ever, at any point in time.
You could have left.
Now, I do believe he released one of the tapes.
She had on place, but wait, let me do this, y'all. And that y'all ain't gonna try to keep me 2 hours like I did the other night. Hold on now.
Hold on now, Diva.
Hold on now. Look what. Okay, wow. Funk Flex accuses Cassie of planning a lick. He says he doesn't see her as a victim after the Diddy trial. You was young. Diddy made bad choices, and you made bad choices. When do you plan to teach girls not to make the same mistakes you made? I don't know.
I wonder if she really feels it was a mistake. She got $30 million out of this.
We're hoping to get a book deal.
For one thing, I'm not supporting Diddy, but I am supporting what's right and what's wrong. I'm looking at this could be my son. I'm looking at this could be my daughter. And I pray that my daughters never have to get to a position where they have to sleep with these type of people or get degraded this way in their life. I want them to go to school, get your own money, because there's nobody that's worth it. And I pray my son would never do the things, slap a woman around and doing all that type of stuff, because I would slap him around. Don't do that. What I'm saying, like I said, I'm not defending Diddy. I'm just saying, if this is what you brought to me, it's not, like I said, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And the folks didn't prove anything because everybody got up there and lied. They only gave them bits and pieces. Now, if you would have brought the charges that everybody said he did with the urban legends and all that type of stuff, because we still don't know if he did this stuff or not. You would have brought those charges in. That'd have been a whole different ball game. But you bringing in FOs. These people went in no done courtroom. They was at the Pussycat Theater. Because I don't want to see no darn FOs for no pee, no courtroom. I mean, come on, every day. Who wants to go in there and see that? That's not no courtroom. That was the Pussycat Theater. They just got a free show without paying. And like I said, this is totally sick and disgusting. I mean, I don't even want to hear about an FO. I don't even want to see a F in my alphabet. I've seen
I know, right?
too many FOs in my life.
I check when I walk past baby oil.
I'm like I
We'll
said,
see in the future. Listen to us
giving women
this next week when the Mathis verdict, as we'll talk about the entire case and the sentencing.
I'm just tired of it.
The sentencing guideline for a first-time offender is 21 months to 27 months for each count. We'll see whether they're consecutive, whether they're concurrent, or if he deviates from that first-time offender assessment or sentence, if you will. Stay tuned. By now, you know that Sean Diddy Combs has been convicted of interstate transportation of prostitutes, two counts, and has been denied bail. Although I really am concerned about the assaults against the women, particularly disrespecting Black women as such, we must go with what he has been convicted of and respect the jury. And as I had predicted, he should be convicted after hearing and closing arguments of only the 2 counts of interstate transportation of prostitutes. We'll see in the future. Listen to us this next week on the Mathis verdict, as we'll talk about the entire case and the sentencing. The sentencing guideline for a first-time offender is 21 months to 27 months for each count. We'll see whether they're consecutive, whether they're concurrent, or if he deviates from that first-time offender assessment or sentence, if you will. Stay tuned.
Just really quick, I think that the one Black woman involved in this case has nothing to do with what he was actually convicted of. So this is, again, people giving more false information. These 2 victims, Capricorn was the Black woman.
Yes, she
with
was.
her thing would have went under the false labor in the RICO, which he was acquitted of. So there are only 2 victims. There's not no whole bunch of different victims all over the place.
And Capricorn got her money through a lawsuit with the not being paid. She
I
actually was
believe what
awarded.
happened was they ended up actually paying her, which means the IRS took most of it. It wasn't a lawsuit settlement.
Oh, because I know they said
So I
she
think
was
that's
upset
why she's
when she
so
got her money.
bitter. Yeah, that's
Because
what
she thought
Suge
she was
Knight
going to get
said, is
$1
that they paid
million.
her from the payroll, which meant that the IRS took pretty much half of that money.
Yeah. But she still, after that, she didn't get the million. She got like 500,000. And then she was able to go and work for Revolt in a whole different department, nowhere near Diddy, and was still not satisfied with the results.
Is it me or is Amy J breaking up a little bit?
Yeah,
That's
Amy,
me.
you're
I'm
breaking
trying
up
to
a
stop
little
down.
bit.
I'm gonna step down.
Okay. All right. I appreciate you coming through.
Yeah.
Listen, this thing is loaded. We're going to stay connected to it. So you figure if they do 21 months, let's just do the low end, and 21 months, because it's 2 counts, right? That's 42 months right there. Still a lot of years. But I'm guessing.
Can I go deep?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, Dustin. My apologies. Go ahead. Talk, Dustin.
I just want to say that I sorry for yesterday because I didn't think this was going to go the way I planned. So Diva, I do owe you an apology because I didn't think it would go the way that you tried to tell me it would go. So you were right and I was wrong. I don't want to start with that one, but I do think I feel awful for the kids. I don't I don't I don't feel bad for him as much as I do for the family because it's going to change the kids' lives, and I hope that he gets a lot of rehab that he deserves. He needs a lot of help, and I hope he gets it while he's in there. But Diva, you was right and I was wrong, so I apologize for that. Yes,
Dustin, I like to play games. I just like to play games around. You don't ever have to apologize to me. Everybody has the right to their opinion. I don't never get mad at anybody for their opinion. But I read all of these cases. I read the lawsuits. I'm actually, I want to go down to the Southern District of New York and tell them we was outside juries and give us our pay too, because this was a lot. This was a lot. Covering this case every day and going through it and trying to help people understand that you have to go by the facts that are presented. And all I could say is this jury did do their job because they went by the facts that were presented. And if you have an ounce of reasonable doubt, then you got to say not guilty. And this is on the government, okay? This is on the Southern District of New York. How you charging somebody with RICO and there's nobody else involved? And you want to give us the illusion, oh, it's KK, oh, his former bodyguard is this one, is that one. No, well, you should have charged them. But you know why they couldn't charge them? Because they ain't got enough evidence. And KK, his number one lady, she wrote on the Instagram, she let the people know ahead of time that she ain't know nothing, she ain't see nothing, and she ain't do nothing.
They needed more evidence and they didn't have it. So
That's there you go, boom. They
we
didn't
needed
have
more evidence. They didn't have more evidence, and then we needed more evidence. But that's okay because the thing is over with. The trial is over with, but we're going to move on to the sentencing. And I hope, Diva, I hope you covered the sentencing as much as you did the trial, because you really opened up my eyes last night. So thank you very much, and I will thank you very much, and I hope you cover the sentencing. Mm-hmm.
I will cover the sentence, and then thank you so much for being here. Listen, guys, I gotta go. Y'all have me in here hour and change, but it's okay. I thank every panelist that came up tonight. Much appreciated. Your opinion matters and it counts, okay? But listen, guys, if y'all didn't hit that like button on the way in, do me a favor, hit it on the way out. And you know what? I do hope he makes better choices when he gets out. But the part that scared me with Diddy is you knew you came to New York to be arrested, and you came to New York with the foolery. And maybe this jail time has gotten him straight, but I don't know.
I doubt it. I doubt it, Diva.
No.
I don't think so.
Thank you, guys. Good night, y'all.